Now what we're going to look at in this video is some problem-solving matrix multiplication questions. So we're just going to get straight into it. You guys have learned the basics of matrix multiplication. Sorry about the hiccups of matrix multiplication. And we should be able to use those skills now to answer some more real life style questions. So the first one here, Eve played a game of darts. The parts of the dartboard that she hit during one game are recorded in matrix H. The bullseye is a small area in the center of a dartboard. We all know that. The points scored for hitting different regions of the dartboard are shown in matrix P. Use matrix multiplication to find a matrix giving her score for the final game. So we want to use our skills that we have learned for matrix multiplication to try and find her final score for the game. So if we think logically about how we're going to find that score, we're going to need to know, well, how many bullseyes did she get and how many points for each of those bullseyes, and then how many of the inner region and how many points does she get for each time she hits the inner region, and so on for all of the separate areas of the board. And the way we would do that if we were doing without matrix multiplication is we would go, well, if there were 2 bullseyes, like it says here, and each bullseye is 20 points, well, we know we have 2 lots of 20 points, so there's 40 there. And then the inner region, there's 13 of those and 5 points for every one, so 13 lots of 5. I'm going to add that to what we had before. And if we think about that process, well, that's just what matrix multiplication is. When we multiply 2 matrices together, we multiply our corresponding elements, and then we add that to the multiplication of the next corresponding element, and then we add that to the multiplication of the next 2 corresponding elements. That's what we're going to do. We're going to multiply these 2 matrices together to give our final score. We should just check though, so if we're going to multiply our H matrix by our P matrix, let's just say S is our final score matrix, and we want to do that by multiplying our H and our P matrix together. We know from the skills we've learned with matrix multiplication that we should check that we're actually able to do the multiplication. We should check that it's defined, and we do that by looking at the order of the matrices. So the first one is 1 row and 3 columns, and our second matrix is 3 rows and 1 column. The way we check is we go, okay, the 2 middle numbers are the same. Yes, they are. It's defined. We can multiply them together. And then we should check what is going to be the order or the size of my answer matrix. It's going to be a 1 by 1, so it's just the outer 2 numbers. So we know when we multiply these 2 matrices together, we should just end up with a 1 by 1 matrix, so just a single number. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go H, 2, 13, and 5. Multiplied by P, 25, and 1. Now following our matrix multiplication rules that we know, we go across our first row and down our first column. There is only 1 row and 1 column, so it's going to be pretty simple. So we have, to get this single element, it's 2 times 20 plus, so there are our first 2 corresponding elements. We go across our row and down our column to get the next 2. 13 times 5 plus, across our row, down our column, 5 times 1. And that will give us 40 plus 13 times 5 is going to be 50, and 15 is 65. 5, then we can simplify once more. 40 plus 65 is 105, plus another 5 gets us to 110. So that is the score for her game, the final score for the game. We should then probably write a therefore statement. Therefore, because it's a problem-solving question, if the final score was 110. There we go. So we're going to look at one more question. The bakery recorded the sales for shop A and shop B of cakes, pies, and rolls in a sales matrix S. So that's this one here. The prices were recorded in the prices matrix B. How many pies were sold by shop B? Okay, well, that's not really going to be too tricky. All we have to do is look at our matrix to answer that question. So we have sales matrix S, we can just use that. So how many pies were sold by shop B? Well, this is how many things were sold. So we look in the shop B row and we go across to pies. That's going to be 21. Oh. 21 pies. Oh, these hiccups. Okay, what's the selling price of pies? Well, that one we can look at our price matrix. And we look at pies 2. And we know that our price matrix is in dollars because it says it up here. So the selling price of pies is $2 each. Calculate the matrix product SP. Okay, so it's just asking us to do a straight out multiplication. But before we do that, we should check that we are actually able to do it. We should check that it's defined. So matrix S is a 2 by 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. And matrix P is a 3 by 1. 3 and 3, they're the same, so it's defined. We can do it. And our answer will be a 2 by 1. So we know we should be looking at a final matrix that has 2 rows and only 1 column. Okay, so let's calculate that matrix product. We've got 12, 15, 25, 21, 18, 16, and 3, 2, 1. So remembering our matrix multiplication rules, we're going across our first row and down the column, getting those corresponding elements. So 12 multiplied by 3. And we know we're looking at, like we said before, something with 2 rows and just 1 column. So 12 times 3 plus our next corresponding 25 times 2 plus our next corresponding 18 times 1. And on to our next row. So we have 15 times by 3 plus 21 times by 2. And finally, 16 times by 1. And now it's just a matter of simplifying. Oh, we've got 12 times by 3, which is 36, plus 25 times 2, which is 50, plus 18 times 1, which is 18. 15 times by 3 is 45. 42 for 21 times 2, and 16 for 16 times 1. And simplifying one more time, 36 plus 50 is 86, plus another 18 is 90. 36 plus 50, these hiccups, is 86, plus another 18 is 104. 45 plus 42 is 87, plus another 16 is 97, 103. So that there is the multiplication of S multiplied by P. What information is contained in matrix SP? So this is the important bit. We need to know what we actually just worked out. So let's have a think. We multiplied our sales matrix by the cost of each item. And we've ended up with two different rows here and just a single element in each of those rows, so only one column. So we've got, when we did our first row, we multiplied everything from shop A down by their individual prices. So that should have given me the total cost if I added up everything I made from the sales of the cakes, the pies, and the rolls. So that should have given me the total amount of money made by shop A. And then in the second row, we worked that out by multiplying individually all the items or the number of items sold by shop B and the cost of those items individually. So that should have given me the total amount of money made by shop B. So that's what information is given by this matrix. The first row will be total dollars and by shop A, and the same for shop B. E, which shop had the greater income from its sales and how much were its takings? So if we have a look at our matrix, we can see that shop A made $1 more than shop B. So that's how we can use matrices to solve a more real life related question.